What if rejection could be the key to your strength? It's a question that might seem counterintuitive at first, but what if I told you that the very thing you dread could become your greatest asset? In today's world, where rejection often feels like a personal failure, the ancient philosophy of Stoicism offers a radically different perspective, one that transforms rejection into a powerful tool for growth and resilience. Epictetus, one of the most influential Stoic thinkers, once said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." This simple yet profound idea reminds us that while we can't always control external events, we have complete control over how we respond to them. Throughout this video, we'll explore how to harness the Stoic mindset to turn rejection into strength, focusing on practical principles you can apply in your own life. Whether it's a job application turned down, a relationship that didn't work out, or a dream that feels out of reach, rejection doesn't have to be the end of the story. It can be the beginning of something even greater. So let's dive in and discover how to reframe rejection, not as a setback, but as a stepping stone to your personal growth. Stoicism teaches us that rejection, like any external event, is indifferent. It doesn't inherently hold power over us. What truly matters is how we judge and respond to it. This perspective shifts the focus from what happens to us to how we choose to perceive and act. It's a liberating idea. Rejection doesn't define us unless we let it. Marcus Aurelius, one of Stoicism's great thinkers, once wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events." Realize this and you will find strength. In other words, while we can't control whether we face rejection, we can always control how we interpret and react to it. This is where the Stoic concept of the dichotomy of control becomes essential. Some things are within our control, our thoughts, attitudes, and actions, while others, like the opinions or decisions of others, are not. Rejection falls into the latter category. It's external, fleeting, and often says more about the other person than it does about us, but our response. That's entirely up to us. We can choose to see rejection as a personal failure, or we can view it as an opportunity for growth, a moment to reflect and refine our approach. History is full of figures who faced rejection and turned it into strength. Take Thomas Edison, for example. He was told countless times that his inventions were impractical or impossible, yet he famously responded, "I have not failed. I've just found 10,000 ways that won't work." His resilience wasn't about ignoring rejection, but about redefining it as part of the process. Similarly, Oprah Winfrey was fired from her first television job, told she wasn't fit for the industry. Yet, she didn't let that rejection define her. Instead, she used it as fuel to build an empire grounded in authenticity and connection. So, the next time you face rejection, ask yourself, how am I choosing to respond? Is this moment shaping me, or am I shaping how I see this moment? By embracing the Stoic perspective, we can transform rejection from a source of pain into a catalyst for growth. Imagine this: you've just been turned down for a job you really wanted. At first, it feels like a punch to the gut, but what if that rejection isn't the end of the story? What if it's just the beginning of something even better? This is where the power of perception comes into play. Rejection in itself is neutral. It's not inherently good or bad. It's our interpretation of it that shapes its impact on our lives. As the Stoic philosopher Seneca once said, "We suffer more often in imagination than in reality." What he's pointing to is this simple yet profound truth. It's not what happens to us that matters most, but how we choose to see it. Stoicism teaches us to reframe rejection not as a failure, but as feedback or even redirection. Think of it like this: when you're driving and you miss a turn, it doesn't mean the journey is over. It just means you need to recalibrate and find a new route, one that might even lead you to a destination you hadn't considered. Rejection can work the same way. Suppose you didn't get that job you wanted. Maybe it wasn't the right fit, and the universe is nudging you toward something more aligned with your skills, values, or purpose. History is full of stories where rejection became the catalyst for extraordinary success. J.K. Rowling, for instance, was rejected by multiple publishers before Harry Potter became a global phenomenon. What seemed like a setback at the time was actually a setup for something far greater. So, how can we apply this Stoic wisdom to our own lives? Start by asking yourself, what if this rejection is actually serving me in some way? Maybe it's protecting you from a path that wasn't right for you. Maybe it's giving you the chance to grow stronger, more resilient, or more adaptable. The key is to shift your focus from what you've lost to what you might gain. This isn't about sugarcoating reality, it's about choosing a perspective that empowers rather than paralyzes you. When you view rejection as a teacher rather than an enemy, it loses its power to define or defeat you. Instead, it becomes a stepping stone towards something more meaningful. Amor Fati, or the love of fate, is a powerful Stoic concept that invites us to embrace every aspect of our lives, including the challenges and rejections we face. It's about seeing life's events not as obstacles but as essential pieces of a larger puzzle. Nietzsche famously described Amor Fati as loving everything that happens to us, the good and the bad, because each experience shapes who we are. This idea aligns perfectly with Stoic philosophy, which teaches us to accept what we cannot control and focus instead on how we respond. Take the story of Thomas Edison, for instance. When he was developing the light bulb, he faced countless failures and rejections. Instead of seeing these setbacks as defeats, he famously said, "I have not failed. I've just found 10,000 ways that won't work." Edison's ability to love and accept his failures as part of the process ultimately led to one of the most transformative inventions in history. His resilience wasn't just about persistence, it was about embracing rejection as a teacher rather than an enemy. So, how can you apply Amor Fati in your own life? Start by shifting your perspective. When rejection comes your way, try to see it as an opportunity to grow rather than a sign of inadequacy. Ask yourself, what can I learn from this experience? How can it make me stronger? By practicing Amor Fati, you're not just accepting rejection, you're transforming it into a stepping stone for resilience and success. This mindset doesn't just make rejection easier to handle, it turns it into a source of strength. Rejection often stings because we tie our self-worth to what others think of us. But Stoicism offers a liberating perspective. Our value isn't determined by the judgments of others. Instead, it's rooted in our own principles, actions, and inner character. Epictetus, one of the great Stoic philosophers, put it this way: "If anyone tells you that a certain person speaks ill of you, do not make excuses about what is said, but answer, 'He was ignorant of my other faults, else he would not have mentioned these alone.'" This isn't about dismissing criticism outright, but about recognizing that others' opinions are just that, opinions. They don't define who you are. Take the story of J.K. Rowling, for instance. Before Harry Potter became a global phenomenon, she faced countless rejections from publishers who didn't see the potential in her work. But instead of letting those rejections dictate her worth, she stayed grounded in her belief in the story she wanted to tell. She focused on her own vision, not the external validation she wasn't receiving. And that unwavering commitment to her principles ultimately led to her success. So how can we apply this in our own lives? Start by asking yourself, why do I seek approval from others? What would it feel like to stand firmly in my own values, regardless of what anyone else thinks? Detaching from external validation doesn't mean becoming indifferent to feedback or isolating yourself from others. It means choosing to define your self-worth from within, rather than outsourcing it to the opinions of the world around you. This shift in perspective can transform rejection from a source of pain into an opportunity for growth, a chance to reaffirm your commitment to your own path. Resilience, from a Stoic point of view, is about facing life's challenges head-on while maintaining your inner calm. It's not about avoiding hardship or pretending it doesn't exist. It's about enduring it without letting it shake your core. Think of it like a tree in a storm. The wind may bend it, but its roots hold firm, allowing it to stand tall once the storm has passed. Rejection, in this sense, is one of those storms. It tests our character, forcing us to confront our fears, doubts, and insecurities. And it's in those moments of testing that resilience is forged. Marcus Aurelius, one of the most famous Stoic philosophers, once wrote, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." In other words, the very obstacles we face, rejection, failure, setbacks, are the very things that can propel us forward if we choose to see them as opportunities for growth. Instead of letting rejection crush us, we can use it as a tool to build our mental fortitude. Take, for example, Thomas Edison. Before he successfully invented the light bulb, he faced countless rejections and failures. He famously said, "I have not failed. I've just found 10,000 ways that won't work." His ability to endure rejection and persevere in the face of adversity is a testament to the power of resilience. Each setback only strengthened his resolve, teaching him valuable lessons that eventually led to his success. So, how can you cultivate this kind of resilience in your own life? Start by reframing rejection not as a personal failing but as a stepping stone. Ask yourself, what can I learn from this experience? How can I use this to grow stronger? By shifting your perspective, you can begin to see rejection not as an enemy but as a teacher. Resilience isn't something you're born with, it's something you build one challenge at a time. One of the most profound ideas in Stoicism is the concept of the dichotomy of control, the understanding that some things are within our power while others are not. When it comes to rejection, this principle becomes a lifeline. Think about it. You can't control someone else's decision, their opinion, or the circumstances that led to their rejection. But what you can control is how you respond to it. Epictetus, one of the great Stoic philosophers, put it simply, some things are in our control and others are not. He reminds us that our power lies in our own judgments, actions, and attitudes, not in the external world. So, what does this look like in practice? Let's say you're turned down for a job you really wanted. You can't change the hiring manager's decision, but you can use the experience as a catalyst for growth. Maybe you take a course to sharpen your skills, reach out for feedback to understand where you might improve, or even refine your approach for future opportunities. These are all actions within your control, and they shift the focus from what went wrong to what you can do about it. Here's a helpful exercise. The next time you face rejection, pause and ask yourself, what's within my power right now? It could be as simple as reframing your mindset, taking a deep breath, or deciding to learn from the experience. By focusing on what you can control, you reclaim your agency. You're no longer at the mercy of external events, you're steering your own path. This Stoic mindset doesn't just help you cope with rejection, it empowers you to grow stronger because of it. Patience, in the eyes of Stoicism, isn't just a virtue, it's a powerful tool for navigating life's inevitable rejections and setbacks. The Stoics believed that true growth and success rarely happen overnight. Instead, they require time, effort, and an unwavering commitment to persistence. Seneca, one of the great Stoic philosophers, once said, "Time heals what reason cannot." This simple yet profound statement reminds us that patience isn't about waiting idly. It's about trusting the process and continuing to move forward, even when the results aren't immediate. Think about someone like J.K. Rowling, who faced countless rejections before her manuscript for Harry Potter was finally accepted. Her story is a testament to the power of patience and persistence. She didn't let rejection define her or derail her vision. Instead, she kept refining her craft, believing in her work, and waiting for the right opportunity. Her patience, combined with her effort, eventually led to one of the most successful literary series in history. So, how can we cultivate this kind of patience in our own lives? Start by shifting your perspective. Instead of seeing rejection as a roadblock, view it as a necessary part of the journey. Each no brings you closer to a yes, but only if you're willing to stay the course. Practice small acts of patience daily, whether it's in your work, relationships, or personal goals. Remind yourself that progress often happens in increments, not leaps. Patience, as the Stoics taught, isn't passive, it's an active choice to endure and persist. It's about finding strength in the waiting and trusting that your efforts will bear fruit, even if it takes longer than you hope. When you embrace this mindset, rejection becomes less of a setback and more of a stepping stone on the path to your goals. Rejection often feels like a door slamming shut, but what if it's actually a signpost pointing you toward a new direction? Stoicism teaches us to see setbacks not as dead ends but as detours leading to unexpected opportunities. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "The impediment to action advances action." What stands in the way becomes the way. In other words, the very obstacles that seem to block us can also be the tools we use to move forward. Think about someone like J.K. Rowling, who faced rejection after rejection when trying to publish Harry Potter. Each no could have been the end of her dream, but instead it fueled her determination. She used that time to refine her work, and her persistence ultimately led to one of the most successful book series in history. Or consider Thomas Edison, who famously said, "I have not failed. I've just found 10,000 ways that won't work." His relentless pursuit of innovation turned every setback into a stepping stone toward the invention of the light bulb. So, how can you apply this mindset to your own life? Start by asking yourself, what can I learn from this rejection? Is there a skill I need to improve, a relationship I need to reevaluate, or a goal I need to redefine? Sometimes rejection forces us to confront truths we've been avoiding or to explore paths we might not have considered otherwise. It's not about pretending the sting isn't real. It's about recognizing that even the most painful moments can hold the seeds of growth. Take a moment to reflect on a recent rejection you've experienced. What might it be trying to teach you? Could it be redirecting you towards something better, even if it doesn't feel like it right now? The Stoics believed that every challenge carries a hidden gift, but it's up to us to uncover it. By shifting your perspective, you can transform rejection from a source of pain into a powerful catalyst for change. Rejection, while often painful, can be a powerful catalyst for self-reflection. It forces us to pause, to look inward, and to ask ourselves some tough questions. Why did this happen? Could I have handled it differently? What can I learn from this experience? This is where Stoicism offers invaluable guidance. The ancient Stoics believed that true strength comes not from avoiding challenges, but from understanding and embracing them as opportunities for growth. Epictetus, one of the most influential Stoic philosophers, once said, "No man is free who is not master of himself." This simple yet profound statement reminds us that self-awareness is the foundation of personal freedom. When we face rejection, we're given a chance to master ourselves, to examine our actions, motivations, and reactions with honesty and clarity. Take, for example, the story of a young entrepreneur who was rejected by every investor she pitched her idea to. Instead of giving up or blaming others, she used each rejection as a mirror, reflecting on what she could improve. She refined her pitch, studied her industry more deeply, and even worked on her confidence. Over time, those rejections became stepping stones, and eventually her persistence paid off. Her success wasn't just about the idea. It was about the growth she achieved through self-reflection. So, what about you? When was the last time you faced rejection, and what did it teach you? Stoicism invites us to see rejection not as a failure, but as a teacher. It's an opportunity to ask ourselves, what can I learn from this? How can I grow? By turning inward and examining our experiences with curiosity rather than resentment, we can transform rejection into a tool for self-improvement and resilience. Inner strength isn't about avoiding rejection or pretending it doesn't hurt. It's about how we respond when it happens. Think of it like a muscle. It grows stronger the more we use it, especially under pressure. Stoicism teaches us that true inner strength comes from maintaining calm and composure, even when life feels chaotic or unfair. Seneca, the famous Stoic philosopher, once said, "The mind that is anxious about future events is miserable." This simple yet profound idea reminds us that a calm mind is our greatest asset in navigating rejection. So, how do we cultivate this kind of strength? It starts with practice. Small, consistent habits can help us build resilience over time. For example, journaling allows us to process our thoughts and emotions, giving us clarity and perspective. Mindfulness, on the other hand, helps us stay present, preventing us from getting lost in worries about the past or future. Even something as simple as taking a few deep breaths when faced with rejection can make a difference. But here's the key. It's not just about doing these practices, it's about embracing the mindset behind them. Stoicism encourages us to focus on what we can control and let go of what we can't. When we internalize this principle, rejection becomes less about what happened to us and more about how we choose to respond. Take a moment to reflect. What's one small step you can take today to build your inner strength? Maybe it's jotting down your thoughts in a journal, or perhaps it's pausing to breathe deeply the next time you feel overwhelmed. Remember, every effort counts. The more you practice, the more you'll find that rejection doesn't define you, it refines you. Rejection can sting, but what if there was a way to prepare yourself so it doesn't hit as hard? This is where the Stoic practice of Premeditatio Malorum, or the premeditation of evils, comes into play. At its core, this practice involves mentally rehearsing potential setbacks, like rejection, before they happen. It's not about dwelling on the negative, but rather about building resilience by visualizing how you'll respond when things don't go your way. As Seneca once said, "What is quite unlooked for is more crushing in its effect, and unexpectedness adds to the weight of a disaster." By imagining rejection in advance, you strip it of its power to surprise and overwhelm you. Here's how it works. Picture a scenario where you face rejection. Maybe it's a job application, a creative project, or even a personal relationship. Walk yourself through the emotions you might feel: disappointment, frustration, even sadness. Then visualize how you'll handle it calmly and rationally. This mental rehearsal doesn't just prepare you for the worst, it helps you see rejection as a temporary setback rather than a defining failure. Take, for example, the story of Marcus, an aspiring writer who faced countless rejections from publishers. Instead of letting each no crush his spirit, Marcus used Premeditatio Malorum to prepare himself. Before submitting his work, he would imagine the rejection letter and remind himself that it didn't diminish the value of his writing. This practice helped him stay focused and persistent, eventually leading to his breakthrough success. Now think about your own life. Where might rejection show up? What would it feel like? And more importantly, how would you navigate it? Try this exercise for yourself. The next time you're facing a situation where rejection is possible, take a moment to mentally prepare. By doing so, you'll not only reduce the emotional impact of rejection, but also empower yourself to handle it with grace and resilience. Facing rejection is never easy, and that's precisely why it calls for courage, one of the foundational virtues in Stoicism. But what does courage truly mean in this context? It's not about being fearless or pretending that rejection doesn't sting. Instead, courage is about acknowledging the fear, the uncertainty, the discomfort, and still choosing to move forward. As Marcus Aurelius once said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." Courage, then, is the strength to act despite the weight of rejection, to rise above the circumstances rather than be crushed by them. Think about the people who have turned rejection into stepping stones. Thomas Edison, for instance, faced countless failures and rejections while inventing the light bulb. Yet he famously viewed each setback as a discovery of another way that didn't work, a mindset rooted in courage and persistence. Or consider J.K. Rowling, who was rejected by multiple publishers before Harry Potter became a global phenomenon. Her story is a testament to the courage it takes to believe in your vision, even when others don't. So, where can you find opportunities to exercise this kind of courage in your own life? Maybe it's applying for that job you're not sure you'll get, or sharing an idea you're passionate about, even if it might be met with skepticism. It's in these moments when fear whispers doubts into your ear that courage becomes your greatest ally. The Stoics remind us that growth lies on the other side of discomfort. What if, instead of avoiding rejection, you saw it as a chance to practice courage? How might that shift in perspective change the way you approach challenges? One of the most overlooked aspects of Stoicism is its emphasis on community and the power of shared wisdom. While it's often portrayed as a solitary philosophy, the Stoics understood that humans are inherently social beings. We thrive when we're connected, supported, and uplifted by others. When facing rejection, it's easy to isolate ourselves, to retreat into our own thoughts and doubts. But Stoicism reminds us that we don't have to face these challenges alone. In fact, leaning on the strength of a community can be one of the most effective ways to transform rejection into resilience. Seneca, one of Stoicism's greatest thinkers, once wrote, "Friendship always benefits, love sometimes wounds." This simple yet profound statement highlights the importance of surrounding ourselves with people who can offer honest advice, encouragement, and perspective. A true friend or mentor doesn't shield us from discomfort. They help us see it clearly, process it, and grow from it. They remind us that rejection isn't a reflection of our worth, but an opportunity to refine our character. Think about the people in your life who have guided you through tough moments. Maybe it's a mentor who shared their own stories of failure and success, showing you that rejection is a universal experience. Perhaps it's a friend who listened without judgment, helping you see the situation from a new angle. These relationships are invaluable because they remind us that we're not alone in our struggles. They provide a mirror, reflecting back our strengths when we might only see our weaknesses. So, who can you turn to when rejection strikes? Take a moment to reflect on the people in your life who inspire you, challenge you, and lift you up. These are the individuals who can help you navigate the storm and emerge stronger on the other side. And remember, seeking support isn't a sign of weakness, it's a testament to your strength and willingness to grow. By embracing the Stoic value of community, you're not just overcoming rejection, you're building a foundation of resilience that will serve you for years to come. When rejection hits, it's easy to get stuck in a loop of focusing on what went wrong or what we've lost. But here's where Stoicism offers a powerful tool to shift our perspective: gratitude. Gratitude isn't just a feel-good buzzword. It's a practice that helps us reframe our experiences and see the bigger picture. Even in the face of rejection, there's always something to appreciate, something that reminds us life isn't defined by a single setback. The Stoic philosopher Epictetus once said, "He is a wise man who does not grieve for the things which he has not, but rejoices for those which he has." This is the essence of gratitude in Stoicism. It's not about ignoring pain or pretending everything is perfect. It's about recognizing that, even in difficult moments, there are still things worth valuing: our health, our relationships, our ability to grow and learn from adversity. Gratitude anchors us in the present and helps us see rejection as just one piece of a much larger puzzle. So how can we bring this into our daily lives? One simple practice is to keep a gratitude journal. At the end of each day, write down 3 things you're grateful for. They don't have to be grand. Maybe it's a kind word from a friend, a moment of quiet reflection, or even the fact that you're still standing despite the challenges you faced. Another practice is to pause during moments of difficulty and ask yourself, what's one thing I can appreciate right now? It could be as small as the warmth of the sun on your face or the opportunity to try again tomorrow. Take a moment now to think about what you're grateful for, even in the wake of rejection. What are the things, big or small, that bring you a sense of peace or joy? By shifting your focus to these positives, you're not denying the pain of rejection. You're simply reminding yourself that it doesn't define you. Gratitude helps us build resilience, one small acknowledgement at a time. One of the most profound lessons Stoicism teaches us is the art of letting go, specifically, letting go of what we cannot control. Rejection often feels personal, like a weight we carry long after the moment has passed. But the truth is, rejection is not something we can control. It's an external event, and the Stoics remind us that clinging to it only robs us of peace and growth. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength." What he's pointing to is this: when we release the burden of rejection, we free ourselves to move forward with clarity and purpose. Think about it this way: imagine you're holding onto a heavy stone. The longer you carry it, the more it drains your energy, but the moment you set it down, you realize how much lighter you feel. Rejection works the same way. Holding onto it doesn't change what happened, but letting it go allows us to reclaim our focus and energy. Take the story of a young artist who faced countless rejections early in her career. Each rejection felt like a verdict on her talent, and she began to doubt herself. But then she stumbled upon Stoic philosophy and realized she was giving these rejections far more power than they deserved. She started to see them as opportunities to learn, not as judgments of her worth. By letting go of the need for external validation, she found the freedom to create authentically, and eventually her work resonated with the right audience. So, what about you? What are you holding onto that might be holding you back? Is it a past rejection, a missed opportunity, or something else entirely? Take a moment to consider what would happen if you released that weight. What would you gain in return? The first step towards strength isn't avoiding rejection. It's learning to let it go, to see it for what it truly is, a moment in time, not the definition of your journey. Humility is one of the cornerstones of Stoic philosophy, especially when it comes to handling rejection. Stoicism teaches us that humility isn't about diminishing ourselves. It's about recognizing our place in the world and understanding that we don't control everything. When rejection happens, humility allows us to step back, assess the situation objectively, and learn from it rather than letting resentment take hold. As the Stoic philosopher Epictetus once said, "It is impossible for a person to begin to learn what he thinks he already knows." Humility opens the door to growth by reminding us that there's always room to improve and that rejection can be a valuable teacher. Think about someone like Thomas Edison, who faced countless rejections and failures before inventing the light bulb. He didn't let pride or frustration stop him. Instead, he approached each setback with humility, viewing them as opportunities to refine his work. Or consider J.K. Rowling, whose manuscript for Harry Potter was rejected by multiple publishers. Instead of giving in to bitterness, she used the feedback to improve her writing, ultimately creating one of the most beloved series in history. These stories show how humility transforms rejection into a stepping stone rather than a stumbling block. So, how can we practice humility in our own lives? Start by acknowledging that rejection doesn't define your worth. It's simply a moment in time, not a life sentence. When faced with a setback, ask yourself, what can I learn from this, or how can I improve? Humility invites us to approach rejection with curiosity rather than defensiveness, turning it into a tool for self-improvement. It's not about accepting defeat, it's about embracing the opportunity to grow stronger, wiser, and more resilient. The next time you face rejection, challenge yourself to respond with humility. You might just find that it's the key to unlocking your next big breakthrough. Discipline is the backbone of Stoic philosophy, acting as the steady hand that guides us through the turbulence of rejection. When faced with setbacks, it's easy to slip into frustration or self-pity, but discipline keeps us grounded, focused, and resilient. It's not about suppressing emotions or pretending rejection doesn't sting, it's about channeling that energy into consistent effort and self-control. As Seneca once said, it is not because things are difficult that we do not dare, it is because we do not dare that they are difficult. Discipline, in this sense, is the courage to persist even when the path feels uncertain or uncomfortable. Think of discipline as a daily practice rather than a one-time act. Small, consistent habits like journaling, meditation, or setting clear goals can help you process rejection without letting it derail your progress. For example, Marcus Aurelius, despite being a Roman emperor, faced immense challenges and betrayals, yet through disciplined reflection and self-mastery, he turned those experiences into lessons rather than defeats. His approach wasn't about avoiding pain, but about embracing it as part of growth. So, what does disciplined action look like in the face of rejection? It might mean revisiting your goals and adjusting your strategy without losing sight of the bigger picture. It could involve dedicating time each day to improve a skill or mindset, even when motivation wanes. The key is to keep moving forward, even if the steps feel small. Ask yourself this: where in your life could you strengthen your discipline? Is it in how you respond to criticism, how you manage your time, or how you approach setbacks? Rejection often reveals where our discipline is weakest, but it also provides an opportunity to build it up. By committing to consistent effort, you transform rejection from a stumbling block into a stepping stone. Mindfulness is more than just a buzzword. It's a powerful Stoic practice that can help you stay grounded when rejection tries to knock you off balance. The Stoics believed that much of our suffering comes from dwelling on the past or worrying about the future. Marcus Aurelius, one of the most renowned Stoic philosophers, put it this way: you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength. By focusing on the present moment, you reclaim that power and prevent rejection from spiraling into anxiety or self-doubt. When faced with rejection, it's easy to get caught up in overthinking. You might replay the situation in your head, imagining what you could have done differently or fearing what others might think. This is where mindfulness steps in. It teaches you to observe your thoughts without judgment, allowing you to see rejection for what it truly is: a single event, not a reflection of your worth. By staying present, you reduce the emotional weight of rejection and create space for clarity and resilience. So, how can you practice mindfulness in your daily life? Start with something simple, like taking a few deep breaths when you feel overwhelmed. Notice the sensation of the air entering and leaving your body. Another technique is the 5 senses exercise. Pause for a moment and identify one thing you can see, hear, touch, taste, and smell. This anchors you in the present and shifts your focus away from negative thoughts. Even a short daily meditation where you sit quietly and observe your thoughts without attaching to them can make a significant difference. Why not try mindfulness the next time you face rejection? Instead of letting your mind race, take a moment to pause, breathe, and bring your attention to the here and now. You might be surprised at how much strength you can find in stillness. Rejection can feel personal, but Stoicism offers a powerful lens to reframe it: the virtue of justice. Justice in Stoic philosophy isn't just about fairness in the legal sense, it's about how we treat others, even when we're hurt or disappointed. It's about seeing the bigger picture and acting with integrity, even when it's difficult. Epictetus once said, "What upsets people is not things themselves, but their judgments about these things." This reminds us that our reactions to rejection are shaped by our perspective, and justice calls us to rise above our immediate emotions. Think about it this way: when someone rejects us, whether it's a job application, a relationship, or an idea, it's easy to see them as the enemy. But Stoicism challenges us to pause and consider their perspective. Maybe they're acting out of their own struggles, limitations, or misunderstandings. Justice urges us to treat them with fairness, not as adversaries but as fellow humans navigating their own challenges. History is full of examples of people who embodied this principle. Take Marcus Aurelius, the Roman emperor who faced countless betrayals and rejections in his rule. Instead of retaliating, he chose to respond with fairness and understanding, often reminding himself that others act out of ignorance, not malice. Or consider modern figures like Nelson Mandela, who, after decades of unjust imprisonment, chose forgiveness over vengeance, embodying the Stoic ideal of justice in the face of profound rejection. So, how can we practice justice in our own lives? Start by asking yourself, am I responding to this rejection with integrity, or am I letting my emotions take the wheel? Reflect on how you've treated others in moments of rejection. Did you act with fairness, or did you let bitterness cloud your judgment? By aligning our actions with the virtue of justice, we not only grow as individuals but also contribute to a more compassionate and understanding world. After all, rejection is a shared human experience, and how we handle it says everything about who we are. Let's talk about one of the most powerful tools in the Stoic toolkit: journaling. When facing rejection, emotions can feel overwhelming, clouding your judgment and leaving you stuck in a loop of frustration. This is where journaling steps in. It's not just about writing down what happened, but about creating space to process, reflect, and gain clarity. The Stoics were firm believers in the power of self-reflection, and Seneca once wrote, "Examine the whole day's actions and words, for this is how you find peace." This simple act of daily reflection helps you step back, observe your emotions without being consumed by them, and uncover lessons that might otherwise go unnoticed. Journaling in the Stoic tradition isn't about venting or dwelling on negativity. It's a structured practice. Start by recounting the events of your day, particularly those moments where you felt rejected or discouraged. Then ask yourself, how did I respond? Was my reaction aligned with my values? What could I have done differently? This process helps you detach from the emotional intensity of the moment and see the situation from a more objective perspective. Over time, you'll notice patterns, recurring triggers, unhelpful thought loops, or missed opportunities for growth. This awareness is the first step toward building resilience. There's a reason why journaling has stood the test of time. Think about someone who's faced repeated rejection, an entrepreneur, an artist, or even a student applying for their dream program. By journaling, they're able to track their progress, celebrate small wins, and identify areas for improvement. It's like having a conversation with yourself, one that fosters self-compassion and accountability. You're not just reacting to life, you're actively learning from it. So here's a challenge for you: start your own Stoic journal. It doesn't need to be fancy, just a notebook or even a note on your phone. Dedicate a few minutes each evening to reflect on your day. Write honestly about the challenges you faced, how you handled them, and what you can take away. Over time, you'll find that rejection doesn't define you. It becomes a stepping stone, a source of insight, and a chance to grow stronger. Journaling isn't just about recording life, it's about transforming it. One of the most powerful lessons Stoicism offers is the art of adaptability, especially when faced with rejection. Life rarely goes exactly as planned, and rejection is often a signal that we need to adjust our approach rather than give up entirely. The Stoics believed that flexibility isn't just a skill but a mindset. It's about recognizing that while we can't control external events, we can always control how we respond to them. Marcus Aurelius once said, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." In other words, obstacles aren't just challenges, they're opportunities to adapt and grow. Think about it this way: rejection can feel like a door slamming shut, but what if it's actually nudging you toward another door, one you hadn't noticed before? Take the story of J.K. Rowling, for instance. Before she became a household name, her manuscript for Harry Potter was rejected by numerous publishers. Instead of letting that stop her, she adapted. She kept refining her work, kept submitting, and eventually found success. Her rejection didn't define her, her adaptability did. So how can we cultivate this kind of flexibility in our own lives? Start by asking yourself a simple question: what can I learn from this situation? Rejection often carries a lesson, whether it's about improving your skills, reevaluating your goals, or even just building resilience. Another practical step is to explore alternative paths. If one approach isn't working, what's another way to achieve your goal? Sometimes the solution lies in a completely different direction, one you might not have considered if things had gone smoothly. Adaptability isn't about giving up on your dreams, it's about finding new ways to pursue them. It's about seeing rejection not as a failure but as feedback, a chance to reassess and recalibrate. By embracing this Stoic principle, we can turn setbacks into stepping stones and keep moving forward, no matter what obstacles come our way. Rejection can feel like a storm that throws us off course, but Stoicism offers a compass to navigate through it. Purpose. The Stoics believed that living with intention, guided by a clear and meaningful goal, is the key to resilience. As Epictetus once said, "First say to yourself what you would be, then do what you have to do." This simple yet profound idea reminds us that purpose isn't just a destination, it's the map that keeps us moving forward, even when the path gets tough. When faced with rejection, it's easy to lose sight of why we started in the first place, but purpose acts as an anchor, grounding us in what truly matters. It's not about avoiding failure or rejection. It's about understanding that these setbacks are part of the journey towards something greater. Think of figures like Nelson Mandela, who endured years of imprisonment yet remained steadfast in his purpose to fight for equality. Or J.K. Rowling, who faced countless rejections before Harry Potter found its way into the world. Their stories remind us that purpose doesn't shield us from hardship, it gives us the strength to persist through it. So, what's your guiding principle? What drives you to keep going, even when the odds seem stacked against you? Take a moment to reflect on what truly matters to you. Is it a personal goal, a commitment to others, a passion that fuels your energy? When you align your actions with your purpose, rejection becomes less of a roadblock and more of a stepping stone. It's not about erasing the pain. It's about using that pain as fuel to move closer to what you care about most. Purpose doesn't have to be grand or world-changing. It can be as simple as striving to be a better parent, creating something meaningful, or making a difference in your community. The Stoics taught us that it's not the size of the purpose that matters, it's the clarity and commitment behind it. When you know your why, rejection loses its power to derail you. Instead, it becomes a test of your dedication, a challenge to refine your focus and deepen your resolve. As you navigate your own journey, remember this: every rejection is an opportunity to reconnect with your purpose. It's a chance to ask yourself, is this still what I want? Am I willing to keep pushing forward? When the answer is yes, you'll find that purpose isn't just a shield, it's a source of strength, a light that guides you even in the darkest moments. When faced with rejection, one of the most powerful tools from Stoic philosophy is the practice of acceptance. But here's the thing: acceptance doesn't mean giving up or resigning yourself to defeat. It's about seeing reality for what it is without resistance or denial. Seneca, one of Stoicism's great thinkers, once said, "We suffer more often in imagination than in reality." What he meant was that our struggle often comes from fighting against what we can't change, rather than accepting it. Imagine pouring energy into trying to shift something immovable, like pushing against a stone wall. Acceptance is the moment you stop pushing and start asking, what can I do within these circumstances? Think about people like Viktor Frankl, a Holocaust survivor and psychologist who found profound strength in accepting his unimaginable situation. Instead of being consumed by anger or despair, he chose to focus on what he could control: his mindset and his actions. His acceptance didn't mean he approved of his circumstances, but it allowed him to find meaning and resilience in the face of suffering. So, what about you? What are the things in your life that you've been resisting, those rejections or setbacks that feel like stone walls? Could there be peace in simply acknowledging them as they are? Acceptance isn't about weakness, it's about clarity. It's the first step toward finding your footing and moving forward with purpose. Take a moment to reflect. What might change if you stopped resisting and started accepting the things you can't control? Rejection often feels like a fog, thick, disorienting, and hard to see through. But Stoicism offers us a lantern in that fog: wisdom. Wisdom, in the Stoic sense, isn't just about knowing facts or theories. It's about seeing life clearly, understanding what's truly within our control, and learning from every experience, even the painful ones. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts." What he meant is that our mindset, shaped by wisdom, determines how we interpret and respond to the world around us. When we cultivate wisdom, rejection becomes less of a personal attack and more of a teacher. Think about someone like Thomas Edison, who faced rejection after rejection while trying to invent the light bulb. Instead of seeing each failure as a dead end, he saw it as a step closer to success. He famously said, "I have not failed. I've just found 10,000 ways that won't work." That's the power of wisdom. It transforms rejection into a roadmap for growth. Or consider J.K. Rowling, whose Harry Potter manuscript was rejected by dozens of publishers. She didn't let those rejections define her. Instead, she used them as fuel to refine her work and persist. Wisdom helped her see that rejection wasn't the end of the story, it was just a chapter. So how can we apply this to our own lives? Start by reflecting on past rejections. What did you learn from them? How did they shape your resilience or your approach to challenges? Wisdom isn't about avoiding rejection, it's about using it as a tool to sharpen your perspective. Challenge yourself to ask, what can this teach me? Or how can I grow from this? When you face rejection with curiosity rather than fear, you unlock its potential to guide you toward better decisions and stronger character. Marcus Aurelius also reminds us, everything that happens is either endurable or not. If it's endurable, then endure it. If it's unendurable, then stop complaining. Either way, it will pass. This is the Stoic call to wisdom, to endure what we must, learn what we can, and move forward with clarity. So the next time rejection knocks on your door, don't just endure it. Meet it with wisdom and let it show you the way forward. Rejection isn't just an obstacle, it's a teacher. In Stoicism, every setback is seen as an opportunity for growth, a chance to refine who we are and how we approach the world. The ancient philosopher Epictetus once said, "No man is free who is not master of himself." This isn't about perfection, it's about progress. It's about using every experience, especially the painful ones, to become better, stronger, and more resilient. Think about it. When we face rejection, we're forced to pause and reflect. What went wrong? What can we learn? How can we improve? These questions aren't easy to answer, but they're essential. They push us to examine our actions, our mindset, and even our values, and that's where growth happens. It's in these moments of self-examination that we start to see rejection not as a failure, but as a stepping stone on the path to becoming our best selves. History is full of stories of people who turned rejection into fuel for their journey. Take Thomas Edison, for example. He faced countless failures while inventing the light bulb, but he famously said, "I have not failed. I've just found 10,000 ways that won't work." Or consider J.K. Rowling, who was rejected by multiple publishers before Harry Potter became a global phenomenon. These individuals didn't let rejection define them. They used it as a catalyst to keep improving, to keep moving forward. So, how can you apply this mindset to your own life? Take a moment to reflect on a recent rejection or setback. What did it teach you? What can you do differently next time? Remember, the goal isn't to avoid failure, it's to learn from it. Each rejection, each disappointment is a lesson in disguise. It's an invitation to grow, to adapt, and to keep striving for your goals. The Stoic journey of self-improvement isn't about reaching a destination, it's about embracing the process. It's about recognizing that every experience, good or bad, has something to offer. So, the next time you face rejection, don't see it as the end of the road. See it as part of your journey, a chance to become stronger, wiser, and more resilient than ever before. As we wrap up, let's revisit the core Stoic principles that can transform rejection from a setback into a source of strength. Remember, it's not the rejection itself that defines us, but how we choose to perceive and respond to it. By shifting our mindset, we can see rejection as an opportunity for growth rather than a personal failure. Resilience isn't about avoiding challenges, it's about embracing them, learning from them, and emerging stronger on the other side. Inner growth happens when we face adversity head-on, using it to refine our character and deepen our understanding of ourselves and the world around us. Seneca once wrote, "Difficulties strengthen the mind as labor does the body." This timeless wisdom reminds us that adversity isn't something to fear or avoid. It's a necessary part of our journey toward becoming the best versions of ourselves. Every rejection, every obstacle is a chance to practice patience, courage, and self-discipline. These are the qualities that build unshakable inner strength and prepare us for whatever life throws our way. So, how can you start applying these principles in your own life? The next time you face rejection, pause and ask yourself, what can I learn from this? How can this moment help me grow? By reframing rejection as a teacher rather than an enemy, you'll begin to see it as a stepping stone rather than a stumbling block. If this perspective resonates with you, I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. How have you turned rejection into strength in your own life? And if you're ready to dive deeper into Stoic wisdom, don't forget to subscribe and join our community. Together, we can explore how ancient philosophy can help us navigate the challenges of modern life with clarity, resilience, and purpose. Thanks for watching, and remember, every rejection is an opportunity in